من لا نبي بعده وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد, we continue Bulugh al-Maram. وَلِلَّهِ الْحَلْمُ minna. We almost finished the chapter, which was very beneficial in regards to enlightening us for this blessed month that we're in. As we concluded the hadith in regards to the affair of traveling, and I wanted to read something very quickly, and I forgot to get the book of some off. It's something that will sum up everything so we can start the next hadith. Just excuse me, everyone. In regards to one traveling, if we look at your books, everyone, so I keep telling brothers, bring their books, 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 bring their books. I don't know how many times. Bring your books, brothers, bring your books, brothers, bring your books, brothers. That's something that is a very, very important. I think, like I said, I think a lot of people, they're accustomed and acclimated just sitting and listening and going home. That's it. That's it. Bring your books, bring your books, bring your books. If I could just keep pounding it in your head, bring your books, bring your books. If you're not leaving in your car, bring your books, brother. Bring your books. That's important. These are not classes just some sit, because if you notice in a lot of classes, I'll say, we mentioned in which class, such and such. What were the conditions? What was the conditions we mentioned? That's to let you know this is not a lecture, this is a class. So the notes you know that you copied from last class affects what we're doing as far as in different affairs, what we're covering. For the one we're doing now, right or wrong. If you notice, I said, what's the conditions of, in regards to a person that's excused from fasting? If he has knowledge of the affair, and also what? If he has excuse, what's the hukm in regards to a person if he does something during the month of Ramadan? We said three things are really vital for a person to know. Whether he's what? He's knowledgeable. Second. See? Still same category. What's the second? Doing intentionally, and this is the reason why I tell everybody bring their classes and write their notes down. This is the reason. This is the exact reason. That's how much stress I keep stressing it. Brothers, you have to come to class. Brothers, you got to read your notes. Brothers, you got to go in your books. Brothers, this is why I keep stressing the importance of it. Like I said, I'm trying to do my job to make sure that the community is getting what they need of knowledge. That's my responsibility, but the half goes back to the people too. It's not just all on the teacher. Half is upon the teacher to make sure he's consistent, he's there, and the other half is upon the people to put their hard work and diligence in likewise. When you start to now, when it's a give and take between both parties, the person, the teacher, and also likewise the person who's what? Attendant. To bring the class, bring your notes, bring your books. They have to be done consistently. So like I said, ya ma'ashal ikhwan, in regards to what we said, we start with the hadith. We actually covered the narration. And notice now, like we said, this is the 11th night of Ramadan. We fasted 10 days already. Tonight will be the 11th night of Ramadan already. 11th. We're on the 11th night. That fast. This is the 11th night of Ramadan. After Maghrib will be the 11th night of Ramadan. 11th. Seems like Ramadan just started like 2 days ago to me. It just seems like it started 3 days ago. So we're on the 11th night already? The 11th night. So, وَلِلَّهِ الْحَمْدُ minna, we almost concluded and finished. Basically, we covered everything, majority of what needs to be covered. And if you notice in the hadith of Bulugh al-Maram, if you look in the book, we talked about the affair of traveling. If you look at the hadith in your books about the Sahabi, his name was Humzah ibn Amr al-Aslami. Humzah ibn Amr al-Aslami, أنه قال يا رسول الله أجد بقوة على الصيام. He said that I have strength to fast while I'm traveling. Is there any problem with that, or is there any sin? We finished that hadith, right, everyone? We finish. So we know, and I wanted to read this quickly, in regards to traveling while one is fasting. I think it was very beneficial. Sadaqat. The great Imam al-Albani, that he brought a tremendous fa'idah in this regard about traveling while one is fasting. There's a narration on Anas ibn Malik where the Prophet ﷺ says, كنا مع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في السفر عفوا فمنا الصائم ومنا المفطر فمنا الصائم ومنا المفطر قال فنزلنا منزلا في يوم حار أكثرنا ظلا صاحب الكساء ومنا من يتقي الشمس بيده قال فسقط الصوام وقام المفطرون فضربوا الأبنية وسقوا الركاب فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ذهب المفطرون اليوم بالأجر. Listen to this narration. This is Sahih. It's in Muslim. This is Sahih Muslim. He said, we were with the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم in a travel. From amongst us who were fasting, and from amongst us who were what? Not fasting. They broke their fast. They weren't fasting at all. He says, so we came upon فنزلنا منزلا في يوم حار. We came a place that was very hot. أكثرنا ظلا صاحب الكساء. He said that a lot of us that they were in the shade. They used something to cover themselves up. And they weren't fasting, of course. And from amongst us was somebody who was even protecting himself, meaning from the sun or the rays of the sun, with his own hand. So the people who are fasting, they fell out. فَسَقَطَ الصُّوَامِ. He said they fell out. And the people who did not break their fast, or did not fast, those who did not fast, he said فَضَرَبُوا الْأَبْنِيَةِ. Basically, they had to do what they had to do as far as in their travels by doing certain, or carrying out certain affairs. Help him out if you can, Amir, please. Help him out. From the people, those who weren't fasting, they carried out certain abniyah. It said they carried out certain affairs where they were handling certain things, where they were, for example, pitching the tent or arranging the affairs for certain with the animals and handling certain things as far as feeding the animals and feeding the riding beasts that they were upon. So basically, they were able to handle certain things when they travel. While the people who were fasting, they fell out. So the Messenger of Allah said, now listen to he said, he said, ذهب المفطرون بالأجر. Those who broke their fast, they took all the reward. ذهب المفطرون بالأجر. Those who broke their fast while they traveled, they went off with the reward. This is Sahih Muslim. Then another narration which says on the authority of Sa'id al-Khudri radiyallahu anhu, غزونا مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لست عشرة مضت من رمضان فمنا من صام ومنا من أفطر فلم يعب الصائم على المفطر ولا المفطر على الصائم. Now listen to this. Also Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. Who's Abu Sa'id al-Khudri's real name, everyone? I've said it 1,000 times. Abu Sa'id al-Khudri's real name. Sa'id ibn Malik ibn Sinan. Sa'id ibn Malik ibn Sinan. Sa'id ibn Malik ibn Sinan. Sa'id ibn Malik ibn Sinan was Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. He said, we went on an expedition with the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, duty, لستة عشر مضت من Ramadan. He said 16 days passed for Ramadan. So they was in a month of Ramadan. What's the problem? What happened? Throw it to him. Anybody have a pen? No pencil? You have it on your book bag? All right, good. Good. He says, we went out on an expedition with the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says 16 days went by Ramadan. So they were in the month of Ramadan. He said, from amongst us who are fasting and from amongst us who broke their fast. He says, and the one who fasted did not ostracize or put down or dispraise the one who was what? Not fasting. And the one who was not fasting did not do the same for the one who was what? Fasting. It says in the narration, وَيَرَوْنَ أَنَّ مَنْ وَجَدَ قُوَّةً فَصَامَ فَإِنَّ ذَلِكَ حَسَنٌ وَيَرَوْنَ أَنَّ مَنْ وَجَدَ ضَعْفًا فَأَفْطَرَ فَإِنَّ ذَلِكَ حَسَنٌ. He says in the narration likewise, this is also Sahih Muslim. He says they used to see that the person who had the strength while they were traveling to fast, then they were what? Then they would fast. The one who had the strength, he had the ability to fast, then he what? He would what? Fast. And those who, he says, and that would be good, it says in the narration. And another one, it says the one who had weakness, or he's seen that he had some weakness with him, then he would what? Break his fast. And they would see that to be likewise what? Hasan. It would be good. Al-Hafidh ibn Hajar, the great Imam, Al-Hafidh ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, who's the author of this book. Who's the author of this book, Bulugh al-Maram. Ahmad ibn Ali ibn Hajar, Ahmad ibn Ali ibn Shahab al-Asqalani, who died 252 of the Hijrah. Who died 252, the great Imam, who is also Sahibu, Sharh al-Bukhari, Fath al-Bari, which is the tremendous explanation of al-Bukhari, which is Fath al-Bari. He also said in this narration, this is what Al-Hafidh ibn Hajar said. This is not in your books, this is somewhere else. He mentioned in another place. He said, اختلف العلماء أيهما أفضل في السفر الصوم أو الفطر فذهب أنس بن مالك رضي الله عنه إلى أن الصوم أفضل. I'll just say it in English quickly because we got a lot to cover. He says the ulama differ in this regard. He says some of them, they say which one is more virtuous in traveling. Is it fasting or not fasting? He says Anas ibn Malik, so he brings aqwa from the Sahaba. Now listen, Anas ibn Malik, the great Sahabi. I think everyone knows who Anas ibn Malik is. Anas ibn Malik, he said, ذهب إلى أن الصوم أفضل. The fasting is what? More virtuous, more better. وحكي ذلك أيضا عن عثمان ibn أبي العاص وإليه ذهب إبراهيم النخعي وسعيد بن جبير. He says, and that also was narrated upon another Sahabi. His name was Uthman ibn Abi al-As. Uthman ibn Abi al-As. He says, and who also agrees with the same opinion was the great Tabi'i. The great Tabi'i, Ibrahim al-Nakha'i. Ibrahim al-Nakha'i and Sa'id ibn Jubair and Sufyan al-Thawri and Abu Thawr and Ashab al-Ra'i. So you have one people from one side that said what, everyone? You get a chair if you find it uncomfortable. Get a chair, sit in the chair. If that's going to be better to aid you upon, be more comfortable so you can focus more, to get a chair, just relax. I don't want the brothers to be facing hardship while they're trying to take knowledge. That's uncomfortable. He's fighting pain and trying to write at the same time. Just be comfortable. Like, so you have one side that said what? That fasting while one is traveling is what? More virtuous. Then you have another side. Another side, so you have from Anas ibn Malik, and also it was narrated upon Uthman ibn al-As and Ibrahim al-Nakha'i and also Sa'id ibn Jubair and Sufyan al-Thawri, whose people who are mountains of knowledge has said that it's better for one to what? That fasting while he was what, everyone? Are you with me or you're not with me? That fasting while he's traveling is what? More virtuous. More virtuous. Better. Then you have another side, who's the great Imam, Al-Imam Malik. Imam Malik. Malik ibn Anas al-Usbuhi, the great Imam. From the four Imams. Malik ibn Anas al-Usbuhi, Imam Dal Hijrah. Malik ibn Anas, and also the great Imam al-Fudayl ibn Iyad, and also Muhammad ibn Idris al-Shafi'i. Also likewise. They said that what? Sawm ahabbu ilayna liman qawiya alayh. They said that fast is more beloved to us for the one who has the ability to do it. But those they didn't say it was what, everyone? Notice they did not say it was what? Wajib. They did not say it was wajib. طيب. وقال عبد الله بن عمرو, the great Sahabi, Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As. Now listen to this. Now this is where it gets real tricky. So you have the great Sahabi likewise, Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, and also Abdullah ibn Abbas. He also has Sa'id ibn Musayyib. Sa'id ibn Musayyib was from the greatest of tabi'een. He's considered the heads of which, during his time, all knowledge would go back to him. Of what he had, of so many, and he memorized of so many narrations of Sahaba. As he said, he was the heads of those from the tabi'een. Sa'id ibn Musayyib. And also the great Imam al-Sha'bi. Amr ibn Sharahil al-Sha'bi. And also al-Awza'i. Al-Sha'bi, his name was Amr ibn Sharahil al-Sha'bi, the great Imam. And also al-Awza'i. And his Awza'i's real name was what everyone? Abdurrahman ibn Amr al-Awza'i, Imam Ahl al-Sham. Also, Ahmad ibn Hanbal was Ishaq ibn Rahuya. What did they say? So now we got Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, Abdullah ibn Abbas, Sa'id ibn Musayyib, al-Sha'bi. You know what they used to say about Sha'bi? Amr ibn Sharahil al-Sha'bi. You know what he said about himself? He says, blackness never, I'm going to see if you guys can understand what he's saying. He said, blackness never met with whiteness with me ever. What is he talking about? He's talking about writing down something. Ink never even touched the paper in regards to my memorization. Ink never even touched a white piece of paper or anything like that. That's what Sha'bi said about his memory. The great Imam al-Sha'bi. This is Amr ibn Sharahil al-Sha'bi, and also the great Imam al-Awza'i, Imam from Ahl al-Sunnah. That he was a mihna for the people. He was a test that the people would know a person upon the Sunnah by Imam al-Awza'i, and them speaking good about him. His real name was who, everyone? Imam al-Awza'i, his name was AbdurRahman ibn Amr. AbdurRahman ibn Amr al-Awza'i, Imam Ahl al-Sham. Also likewise, we had the great Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. I think that speaks for itself. Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Shaybani, Imam Ahl al-Sunnah, Imam Ahl al-Sunnah wal Jama'ah, Ahmad ibn Hanbal. Enough said. طيب. Ishaq ibn Rahuya, who's the sheikh of Ahmad ibn Hanbal. Ishaq ibn Rahuya. To the point where even Imam Ahmad, someone asked about Ishaq ibn Rahuya. He says, about me, I'm asked about Ishaq. He says, rather you should be asking Ishaq about me, meaning you're asking about my condition. You're asking me to praise Ishaq ibn Rahuya and that he needs a recommendation from me. That's to show the high level of Ishaq ibn Rahuya and how much respect Ahmad ibn Hanbal had for Ishaq ibn Rahuya, his own sheikh. He says you need to be asking him about me, trying to ask to get a recommendation. I need a recommendation from him for him to say that I'm okay, basically, to show respect he had for Ishaq ibn Rahuya. He says about me, I'm asked about Ishaq to show how high and lofty of a status Ishaq ibn Rahuya or Ishaq ibn Rahuayhi had. Anyway, so what is the point of why I'm mentioning all these virtuous people? Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, Abdullah ibn Abbas, Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib, also Sha'bi, al-Awza'i, Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Ishaq ibn Rahuayh. All these are mountains of knowledge. All of them are huge mountains of knowledge, right? What was their opinion about traveling? You know what they said? Breaking the fast is better. Al-Fitr afdal. They said breaking the fast is more virtuous. So Al-Hafidh al-Hajar. So now, how do we conclude on Al-Fitr afdal? And it was also related by the great Tabi'i, Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, wa Qatat. You have so many. Anyway, just to sum up everything. Just to sum up Al-Hafidh ibn Hajar that he said in this regard so we can move on. He says, أفضلهما أيسرهما على المرء. The most virtuous of the two affairs, whether it be fasting or not breaking a fast while one is traveling, he said it goes back to what is more easiest upon the person. That's it. واختار هذا القول الحافظ أبو بكر ابن المنذر وهو قول حسن. And Hafidh ibn Hajar agreed with this statement. He said, what is the most virtuous and better, what's preferable, is what is more what? What's more easy upon the individual. That's it. He says, and who picked this statement was Al-Hafidh Abu Bakr ibn al-Munzir. Abu Bakr ibn al-Munzir. Al-Hafidh ibn Hajar agreed with this statement. He said, huwa qawlun hasan. He said that this is a what? It's a good statement. So that sums up to let us know that what? So what one could do if he wanted to travel and he wanted to what? Fast during the month of Ramadan. Right? Jayyid. So now let's move back to the book. So we finish those narrations. And alhamdulillah, I think everyone, for the next narration, if one goes and we move on to the next one. If you look at your books, you share with your brothers. Next narration is on the authority of Abu Hurairah radiyallahu an. Alhamdulillah, for the most part, I don't think we need to go too deep in this narration, due to the fact that our brother Jamil Finch, he covered this hadith a couple of weeks ago, excuse me. He says, قال جاء رجل إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال هلكت يا رسول الله قال وما أهلكك قال وقعت لامرأتي في رمضان فقال هل تجد ما تعتق به رقبة قال لا قال فهل تستطيع تصوم شهرين متتابعين قال لا قال فهل تجد ما تطعم به وتطعم 60 مسكينة قال لا ثم جلس فأتي النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بعرق فيه تمر فقال تصدق بهذا قال أعلى أفقر منا فما بين لابتيها أهل بيت أحوج إليه منا فضحك النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم حتى بدت أنيابه ثم قال اذهب فأطعمه أهلك رواه السبعة واللفظ لمسلم till end of it. طيب Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. Who was Abu Hurairah's name, everyone? Abu Hurairah. What was his real name? AbdurRahman ibn Sakhar al-Dawsi. AbdurRahman ibn Sakhar al-Dawsi. Abu Hurairah's real name was AbdurRahman ibn Sakhar al-Dawsi. AbdurRahman ibn Sakhar, like a rock. Sakhar al-Dawsi. Allergies, huh? AbdurRahman ibn Sakhar al-Dawsi. Said that a man came to the Messenger of Allah and he said that I'm destroyed. O Messenger of Allah, I'm destroyed. He says, and what made you destroyed? He says, I was intimate with my wife in Ramadan while I was fasting, during the day of Ramadan, during the day. So the Messenger of Allah he said, do you find where you can liberate a slave? We can liberate a slave? He said, no. He said, can you fast 2 consecutive months straight? And we'll talk about 2 consecutive months. It doesn't necessarily mean 2 consecutive months if a person was to have an excuse from the Shara' to not do it consecutively, then he could cut it. As they say, قطع التتابع. He could cut it being consecutive due to an excuse. For example, traveling, or him being sick, or for example, he had to save a person from dying, or things of that nature. He could break his fast in those particular instances, and it would not be considered from cutting that consistency. You understand, everyone? Is it clear what I'm saying? As we'll talk about, inshallah. Because a lot of people, when they think 2 months consecutively, that they have to do it every single day, even if he was to travel, even if he was to get sick, even if he, for example, someone was dying. No, I'm fasting 2 months straight, I can't break it, I'm sorry. I need a donor, person got to donate blood. Yeah, no, I'm doing 2 consecutive months, I can't break my blood. The person's going to die, he's going to need your blood. You're the same blood type as him. I'm sorry, I'm doing 2 consecutive months of fast, I'm sorry. No. Here you will break your fast in this particular matter, or in this particular instance, to help the person who's dying. And it would not affect it being what? Consecutive. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? If there's a doable excuse from the Shara', as we're talking about, inshallah, whether it be from traveling, or whether it be a person being sick, or those different instances and examples and scenarios we just gave, then a person can break the fast if he falls into this particular sin. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? And it does not affect it being consecutive if he has to break a fast due to that. Is it clear what I'm saying so far, everyone? Because like I said, certain people, when they fall into this sin, I got to fast 2 consecutive months. No matter what the circumstance is, Yeah, I'm not break. I can't. I'm sorry. Person, he dying, he coughing, he has a sick, he's what? He has a virus, throwing up all over. I'm doing 2 consecutive months. I'm sorry, I got still fat. No. Here in this instance, you can still what? There's still ahkam of what applies to fasting still applies to the person who's doing it consecutively. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Is it clear? I'll bring the evidence for that in a minute. Fine. So the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, do you find the ability, can you fast 2 consecutive months? He said no. He said, can you feed 60 impoverished people who are indigent? He said no. Then the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, did he do? He sat. And the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was brought a container that had in it dates. بِعَرَقٍ فِيهِ تَمْرٍ. So the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, he says, give this in charity. تصدق بهذا. Give this in charity. So then the man said, أَعْلَى أَفْقَرَ مِنَّا يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. Do I give charity or give it in charity upon those who are more poor and impoverished than me? What does it say in your books? What does it say in your books if you're looking at it? More poor and more impoverished than we are. He said, for wallahi, what does it say? Nobody's between those 2 volcanoes or those 2 mountains from a people or a family that's more in need of it than us. Does it say something similar to that in your books, everyone? This is Baina la Bateha. Here it says the 2 lavas, meaning the 2 volcanoes or the 2 mountains. I'm just translating it literally. They probably just tweaked it a bit so it could be more clear, that's all. But it says here, Baina la Bateha. So the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam laughed. He laughed. So the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to order, you'll find that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to do things to make people comfortable. Even if he might have fell into something that was what? Something that was severe. So he went down the ladder and then he still at the end tried to make, what they say, tatyib al-khatir. Then he tried to brighten his thoughts up. So he laughed to make this situation a little more calm. Like, calm down, relax. فَضَحِكَ النَّبِيُّ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم. He laughed. So he said to the point where even his what? What did it say in the narration? His motif started showing. He laughed alayhi salatu wasalam to make him feel better. فَبَدَتْ أَنْيَابُ. So his teeth, his motif started showing. So he said, go and feed your family this. فَذْهَبْ فَأَطْعِمْ أَهْلَكَ. رَاهُ السَّبْعَ. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to show the great mannerism he had, alayhi salatu wasalam. For number 1, was taken from this. So the man had fell into what? He thought he fell into something that was destructive. To let you know the fear of Allah and what the Sahaba had as far as upholding the boundaries that Allah has set for one not to transgress. طيب. Why? Because you'll find that the Sahabi who came to the Messenger of Allah knew that this act, for number 1, we extract from this, which is what, everyone? It's not permissible for one to be intimate with his wife during the day of Ramadan. The day. Not the night when the sun sets from Maghrib. Not when the sun sets. After that, of course, we know it's permissible to eat, drink, and be intimate with one's wife. It's known, right, everyone? So this hadith is a clear indication to what, everyone? That it's impermissible for one to be intimate. Intimacy as far as what, everyone? As far as what? A person could say, well, what about the muqaddimat? What is that which leads up to it? Is it permissible to kiss, hug, caress, whatever? Is that permissible? Is it permissible or not, everyone? Yes, it is. It is. With the condition, what's the condition though? His aroused, his desires are two. First of all, number 1, we covered the hadith. If you look back, it said that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to kiss and used to fondle with his wife while he was what? Fasting. But it said at the end of the narration, وَلَكِنَّهُ كَانَ أَمْلَكُكُمْ لِإِرْبِهِ. However, he was the most one that used to what? He was the most of those who, the best of those who used to control his desires, right? طيب. So in this regard, that narration to show that it's permissible for one to what? To kiss his wife, or to fondle with his wife, to play with his wife while he's what? While he's fasting. you'll find that the shurrah, or the people, the commentary of the hadith, have said that's only for the person who has the ability to control his desires. Especially a person if he's a youth or if he's a young individual. If he's young, and we know that the marhalat al-shabab, or the stage when you're youthful or when you're in your stage, when your desires, they peak, especially in your teens or in your 20s, in your 30s. And certain people in their 40s and 50s and on down are an exception to the rule where their desires are still strong too. For those, especially in those particular stages in their life, and they feel that they are going to go and surpass caressing, where it's going to fall and lead to the point where he's going to be intimate, where the private parts meet, where they enter, then in that case, he should abstain from fondling with his wife. But if he knows from himself that he's not going to take it that far, where he's not going to now to the point where caressing will lead to the private parts actually meeting itself, then one can what? Then he can what? He can fondle, he can play and touch his wife. So, during the month of Ramadan, of course, when the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this man came to him telling him that he said that I was intimate with my wife, meaning that our private parts what? They entered each other, they met. So that was the meaning of the hadith. So no one should read this hadith that said, وَقَعْتُ عَلِى امْرَأَتِي, meaning that I fell upon my woman doesn't mean that I hugged and kissed her. No, it meant that the two private parts actually what? They entered each other. The two private parts entered each other. So if that's the case, this would necessitate what? Now a ruling. While one is fasting during the month of Ramadan, right everyone? So what he means, but what he said here is the two private parts meeting. Not the actual what? Or they call it the introduction towards intimacy, which is caressing and hugging, things of that nature. We just broke down the details in regards to that. Right everyone? We just broke down those details. So what was meant here, or what is intended here in this narration, if you look in your books, is what everyone? Is that the actual private parts entered. Allergies, I don't know why. It's around this time all the time. طيب. So now what it comes as a result of it. No, these are allergies. These mess with my nose. I'm glad you said the water. You almost forget I would have been drinking it too. But anyway, you forgot too, huh? You forgot. Yeah, I would have said, yeah, bring it to me. I'll drink it. Oh, I forgot. At any rate. So this matter, number one, shows that intimacy with the private parts meet is a what? It's a major sin during the month of Ramadan. Right, everyone? It's a major sin during the month of Ramadan if one is fasting. Now I'm going to ask a question. What if someone is not traveling? What if someone is not traveling? He's a resident. He's not traveling. We just gave the details on traveling, right, everyone? As far as a person, he's a resident. He's a muqim. And he did not fast that particular day because he's either sick or due to an excuse from the Shara', from the Kitab al-Sunnah. A legislated, valid excuse from Kitab al-Sunnah. Let's just say. The person woke up, he's sick, of course. He didn't fast that particular day due to what? Legitimate reasons, because he was sick. Or, let's just say, he saved someone from dying that day. So he broke his fast, went into a fire, broke it. Right? Or, let's just give another example. He saved someone's life, we donated some blood. All these things can necessitate he what? Broke his fast legitimately, with a doable excuse. Right, everyone? Am I right or wrong? Is it permissible for him now to be intimate with his wife for the rest of the day? What about him? Excellent answer. Who agrees with him? Who agrees with the Shaheed? He said not necessarily. He said if his wife is still fasting, she has to continue. But him is permissible. Is it right or wrong? Huh? Let's just say he might have another wife. I don't want to get into details. I think everybody's fasting, right? That was funny. He said he want to do a curveball. Oh, at any rate. What do you agree up to, Shaheed? Tayyib. Just to sum up everything, brothers. If a person broke his fast for something doable to the excuse from Kitab and Sunnah. As a matter of fact, I could clear this up. What about a man who's traveling? All this is, he came back, all this plays the same, takes the same hukum. Person traveling, didn't fast, but he came back, he's a resident now. But he started the day as a traveler because he didn't fast, right? Came back in the city, right? He's not fasting. His wife just came off her mens in the day of Ramadan. May ghusl. Can they be intimate or not? Can they be intimate or not? The answer is, it's correct. If a man started his day traveling, he didn't fast, came back in the city, he arrived to his house. So he found his wife, it's the day, it's the month of Ramadan. So he found his wife on her what? Mens. She came off her mens. She made her ghusl. He can be intimate with her during the day of Ramadan. This is the point of having knowledge of fiqh in these regards. It's very, if a person studies, he'll know what's permissible for him, what's not. That particular day, he can what? He can have intimate. Due to the fact that he broke his fast from a legitimate excuse from Kitab and Sunnah. Because he was traveling and his wife was on her what? Mens, where it was obligatory for her not to what? Fast. It was obligatory for her not to fast. Until when it stopped, her mens stopped. So it was permissible for her to what? Eat and drink for the rest of the day. Because she's not fasting. Because she's on her mens. Right? Right or wrong? This is how beautiful our religion is. Everything is complete in its proper place. So now, she broke her fast to Kitab and Sunnah. So if she can eat and drink for the rest of the day, it's all more reason she can what? Be intimate with her husband. Right or wrong? Right or wrong? So all the more reason he can be intimate with her husband, she can also likewise be intimate with her husband. So in this particular instance, he can what? They can be intimate during the day of Ramadan, and is what? It's justified. It's acceptable. Let's get back to Abdul person now during the month of Ramadan. A man woke up, he's sick. And let's just say his wife was on her mens, and she came off her mens the same day, on that same day where he was what? Particularly, might have been sick. Or let's just say he donated blood that day. He donated blood. He broke his fast in order to save someone's what? Life. So he came back in the house. His wife came off her mens. So now in this particular instance, can he be intimate with her or not? Absolutely. Yes, he can. Yes, he can. He could be, due to the fact that he broke his fast, not for something illegal or something forbidden. He broke it due to something with a darura to save someone's life. So for that reason, for the rest of the day, he can what? Eat and drink. The only thing that's upon him is to make it up after the month of Ramadan. As far as intimacy in other regards, if a woman is on her mens, everything is permissible except sex itself, as the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said in regards to a woman on her what? Her mens. He cannot be intimate in the private part at all. But other things, if you guys can read behind the lines, is permissible. Is it clear what I'm saying? I don't think I have to go into detail. I think everybody, due to this nasty country we've been brought up into, I think everyone knows what we're talking about. Okay? Am I right or wrong? So in that regard, we say that it's permissible if it's due to these excuses. But the origin is, if both are fasting during the month of Ramadan, then what? It's not permissible. Let's just say now, a person falls into having sex during the month of Ramadan. which is number one, a major sin. It's number one. So what came as a result of it is 5 affairs, 5 things. Number one, if you want to write this down, you can. Number one is he fell into a major sin. Fell into kabira min al-kaba'ir. The person that is intimate with his wife, or vice versa, he has fell into what? Major sin. Fell into the kaba'ir. Kabira min al-kaba'ir. Due to him transgressing the sacredness of fasting and the time. So that's the first thing. And number two, his fast is invalid. His fast is invalid. His fast is what? It's invalid. Number three, he has to make tawbah. He has to make tawbah. He has to make tawbah. Number four, he has to make that day up. Even though you'll find that Ibn Hazm al-Zahiri and I have to check, I think Imam al-Albani says other than that he doesn't have to make the day up, but I have to check it. But I know Ibn Hazm al-Zahiri does say it in Muhalla. It's in there. One of the brothers in Ohio showed it to me, and I read it. He said that he doesn't have to make qada. He doesn't have to make up that particular day, but you'll find the Sheikh Salih Fawzan and Sheikh Uthaymeen and a lot of other ulama from Sheikh AbdurRazzaaq bin Baz and from the Lajna Da'ima, they say he has to make that day up. He has to make that day up. Even though Ibn Hazm, when I read it, his dalil is real strong in Muhalla, in that particular mas'ala is real strong. But you'll find, like we said, from Ahl Ilm, from AbdurRazzaaq bin Baz, and also Uthaymeen and Sheikh bin Baz, that it's obligatory for that person to make that day up. So, the fourth affair is what? He has to make it up. He has to make it up. The fifth affair is a kafara, is an expiation. The fifth affair is an expiation. This is the sin that necessitates a what? Expiation. An expiation. As far as siyam, as far as fasting. There's other kafarat, as far as in Hajj and other things. That's in Hajj. But as far as in Ramadan, as far as siyam Ramadan, this is the sin that requires a what? Expiation. Expiation as far as, like we said, because of the private parts meeting. If the private parts do not meet, and they did not enter, even though a person might have ejaculated, there's no what? There's no expiation. There's no expiation. There's no expiation other than tawbah. Other than just mere tawbah. Because they fell into a major sin because they broke their fast without a legitimate excuse. For example, for example, masturbation, and for example, one caressing his wife or wife caressing him and touching each other until the point where the man ejaculated. If he ejaculated, then his fast is what? Invalid. And it's upon him tawbah. Does he have to make an expiation? No. Why? The private parts did not enter each other. The private parts did not what? They did not enter each other. If that's the case, there's no what? There's no expiation. There is no expiation. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Is it clear? Type. So once the private parts meet and go inside each other, then that would necessitate a what? A fifth affair, which we just mentioned, which is what, everyone? An expiation. An expiation. Type. That expiation now is arranged based upon, it's in your books here. What's that expiation? So it says here. They have to fast what? No. First thing, of course, where there's no slaves and concubines these days. I don't know where one will find one. It's not like you can go to the supermarket and purchase one. That would be nice. No, I'm just joking. But at any rate, I'm just joking. It's a joke. Type. So in regards to concubines, why concubine? Type. You have as many concubines as you want, right? No, it's a joke. But at any rate, there's no boundary on concubines. But at any rate, in regards to this, so first thing, a person had to liberate a slave. And if it's a female, it's a concubine. Type. Which, inshallah, I don't think it's not due to these days because there's no legislated jihad. There's no legislated jihad because usually slaves come from war. They would usually come from war. And they would take them as prisoners in order to show them Islam. If you hear some of the stories of how certain people, some of the Sahaba took Shahada, it would blow your mind. How some of the Sahaba, they were took as captives and they weren't Muslim. And they were brought in. And they were brought in and took in as a slave. And then they were so blown away of how good treatment they was given until the point where they accepted Islam. They couldn't believe they was being treated so nice. They couldn't believe it. They're like, why am I'm a slave and I'm being treated so nice for? Until the point where it aroused their desire to accept Islam and they accepted it because they were blown away of how they were treated so good. So the slavery of Islam is not like the slavery of the Eurocentric, Americanized, filthy, degrading, nasty slavery of the West. It's two different things. You understand, everyone? But at any rate, so the first thing is to what? Free a slave. And if he doesn't find that, then what? Consecutive months. 2 consecutive months. Not months. 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 2 consecutive months. What does this resemble, everyone? This resembles the kafara of what? Dhihar. The kafara of, or the expiation for another sin, which is called dhihar. Dhihar. When you say to your wife, you're like the back of my mother. Dhihar. Dhihar. It's in Surah Al-Tahrim. It's in there. It's in there. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the ayah, He says, فَصِيَامُ شَهْرَيْنِ مُتَتَابِعَيْنِ قَبْلِ أَن يَتَمَاسَّا 2 consecutive months before they what? Touch each other. So the sin or the expiation for this is similar to the expiation of that sin, which is called what, everyone? Kafarat al-dhihar. Dhihar comes from our dhahar. Dhahar in Arabic means back. Dhahar means back. But anyway, dhihar is just a statement to say to a woman, you're like the back of my mother. It was a statement during the time of the Arab that they used to say this. If they really, if they wanted to really degrade their woman, and they would say things that was sometimes inappropriate, and out of that they would get mad and say this to their wife to really hurt their feelings, they would say this. To the point where Allah sent down the ayah reprimanding this type of what? Affair. Where He said, where a person who does this to his wife and says this to her, he has to fast what? 2 consecutive months before he touches her again. To teach him a lesson. To not disrespect your wife like this. Don't disrespect your woman who you what? To say that you're like my mother. Or like the back of my mother. Do not say that. So, the difference between that hukum is what? Now there's a slight difference. The difference in as far as this kafara and this sin a person commits, the difference between this and dhihar is a person while he's fasting, this particular fast of 2 consecutive months, number one, we said it doesn't have to be 2 consecutive necessarily for the wording of the meaning. It doesn't cut the tatabu', as they say. What I mean by it is, if an excuse comes while, let's just say a person fell into this particular sin. He fell into what? Being intimate while he was fasting with his wife. Fine. So now he says, okay, now I have to fast 2 consecutive months. During those 2 consecutive months, does it have to be, for example, in the summer? It could be during the winter, the days could be shorter. And at night, he can still be what? Intimate with his wife. After the sun goes down, he still could be what? Intimate with his wife. And he could do all the other things that's permissible for one to do after the sun goes down. And he can even what? Write this down. This is very important, brothers. Also, while he's fasting those 2 consecutive months, if all the different excuses from Kitab and Sunnah, from one to break his fast, likewise plays the same role in fasting for 2 consecutive months. What do I mean by that? I mean if he becomes sick, or he has to donate blood, someone is about to die, he has to rescue them or save them or what have you. Or, for example, He's traveling. Let's just say he's to travel. And upon him is to fast 2 consecutive months. Can he take the rukhsah? Can he take the excuse where he can leave off the fast while he's traveling, even though he's upon him to fast 2 consecutive months? Can he take it or not? Yes, he can. And that would not be considered cutting the tatabu'. It wouldn't be considered cutting it being consecutively. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Is it clear? It's important to have ilm. Wallahi, brothers, knowledge is light in these days and times. Ignorance is it's dark. Because you see ignorance with at least the people and they doing things and you be looking like, you don't even have to do all that. Like, it's like they're killing themselves because of lack of knowledge. And when you have knowledge and when you see people doing certain things around you, you'd be like, subhanAllah, if they only knew what's permissible, what's not permissible, they wouldn't have to do all that. You get what I'm saying? I'll give you a clear example. That happens every night. Brothers come in and pray Isha here. We're praying Taraweeh. They come in, they go off to the side, they pray Isha. So they're praying in the corner while we're praying Taraweeh, not knowing that you could just pray with us. Yes. You could pray the 2 rakats of what we're doing and pray and make that the niyyah for Isha. You can do that. And then once I salam out, you just stand up and complete what? The other 2 rakats. That's it. Yes. No, I'm talking about for Isha, for people who are late for praying Salat al-Isha. People are coming late, we're praying Taraweeh. You understand? So you catch a reward for Jama'ah, and you also catch a reward for Taraweeh, inshaAllah. You catch a reward for Jama'ah. Excuse me, for Jama'ah, for Isha. But that's what I'm saying. Knowledge is what? Is light. And then you know some people that come in there and do things on the side. And if you go to some places in the masajid, people be praying Taraweeh while they're praying another Jama'ah in the back. So it's 2 recitations going in the back. The imam is praying while there's another group praying behind somewhere. I've seen that happen before. Loud. So the people confused, they hear another recitation in the back where people are praying Salat al-Isha while the imam is praying Salat al-Tarweeh. Ignorance. Not knowing that all they had to do was just join in the congregation for Taraweeh and make that niyyah for what? Salat al-Isha. Done. Knowledge is light, brothers. That's why we encourage people to learn their religion. طيب. So this is what we say, ma'ashal ikhwa. So now, like we said, those doable, justifiable excuses allows one to what? Allows one to, if he has to do this expiation, if he becomes sick, or he has to travel, or he has to break his fast from a legitimate excuse from Kitab al-Sunnah, he can, and it will not affect it being consecutive. Is it clear? Is it clear what I'm saying? You sure? طيب. The difference between the kafara of one who falls in being intimate with his wife during the day of Ramadan and the one who says dhihar. They agree as far as the expiation, but they're different as far as intimacy. Where as far as in Ramadan, a person fell into the sin, he fasts 2 consecutive months, he can be intimate with his wife once the sun goes down. In regards to dhihar, he cannot do it until he finishes what? Till those 2 consecutive months, 60 days, of course, 2 consecutive months, he has to do that first and then be intimate with his wife. That's why it says in the ayah, فَصِيَامُ الشَّهْرَيْنِ وَالتَّتَابِعِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِ أَنْ يَتَمَاسَّ, before they touch each other. So that's the reason why dhihar, what? You can't touch her, but as far as you consecutive months, as far as Ramadan, then he can still be intimate with his wife when the sun what? Goes down. See how knowledge is important? It's clear. Knowledge is very light. Knowledge is light. Tafadal. Start over again. You mean if he falls into being intimate during those 60 days? If he's making it up? Do we have to do another 60 days? Allahu A'lam. I'm going to have to check it. Allah knows best. Allahu a'lam. I'm about to have to do some research on that. Good question. Excellent question. طيب. Another thing is, but to add to that, what I do know in regards to this, what about a person who falls into being more intimate with his wife more than once during the day of Ramadan? Does he have to make 2 expiations? Let's just say a person fell to be intimate twice during the month of the day of Ramadan. Does he have to do 2 expiations or not? I want you guys, before you answer, to think. First of all, I'm going to give you a hint. You already broke your fast. That's all I'm going to say. Bang. That should give you the answer. He's on the right track. Huh? What did brother say? He says once. Who agrees? In the same day. He was intimate with his wife more than once during one day. Let's just say he was intimate 3 times with his wife. Well, how many expiations would he have to do? 1. Why? Because it all happened in one day, but there's something more than that. His fast was already broke. It's not like you can renew your fast and then his fast was already broke. Is it clear? So it's not like he broke his fast in the same day, then renewed the fast and then did it again, and then renewed his fast and then did it again. No, he didn't. So that's the reason why it's only considered what? 1 expiation. If he fell into it twice in the same day. Is it clear? طيب. So those, wow, time flies. Time flies. Absolutely. What do you mean on purpose? During the month of Ramadan? I mean, but usually, only way a person would do that is because what would be the incentive behind his desires? I don't think any Muslim whose iman is correct would say we're just going to oppose what Allah said and we're just going to have sex. It's not based upon desires. It's motivated based upon us just being rebellion. I can't see that. That's something else. Usually what's the motivation behind it or incentive behind it is desires. That's it. It's just desires. Right or wrong? That's usually the incentive behind it. I wouldn't find if any other, I would hope there wouldn't be nothing else behind it. Let's just go against the boundaries of Allah. We ain't even no desires about it. We're just going to rebel. That would now go into something else. You understand? I hope it wouldn't be that to that level. طيب. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? طيب. So the second choice, if you notice in the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said what? 2 consecutive months. Then the man said what, everyone? He said, I'm not able to do that. What does it say in the last part of the hadith? Huh? It says, feed 60 impoverished people. People who are what? Miskeen. 2 people who are what? Miskeen. People who are impoverished. People who are from the indigent. So, the Messenger of Allah said that he had to feed 60 poor people, which is equivalent to 2 months. So, everything in regards to feeding would be applied here, likewise. A person can either what? Will feed them as far as from arroz, from rice, from barley, or what is from, or known amongst the people of that particular country or city, or what the people usually eat. What is famous amongst the people, whether it be rice or whether it be certain countries, this might be barley, or some countries it might be something else. But usually in this country, chicken, rice, things like that will what? Suffice. Sweet potatoes, rice, chicken, whatever, meat, lamb, all that's famous, steak, whatever, okay? Those particular what? Type of meals a person will feed to the impoverished, and that will what? Lift the expiation off him. After he sees that he does not have the ability to fast 2 consecutive months. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Fine. Now there's another hukum. This man was so much impoverished to the point where he couldn't even do that because he was that severely what? In poverty. He was in that much poverty. To the point where he said, أَعْلَى أَفْقَرَ مِنَّا يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. Give sadaqah to give that to people who's more poor than us. He said, وَمَا أَحْوَجَنَا إِلَيْهِ مَعْ كَوْنِنَا أحوجنا إليه من غيرنا, or as it says in the narration here, he says, ما بين لابتيها أهل بيت أحوج إليه منا. There's nobody between the two mountains, or those two volcanoes, or those two mountains, from the people of a family that's more in need of it than us. So that shows that what? With the obligation, if the person has no type of ability to do it whatsoever, he's that much in poverty, not that deep in poverty, then it will what? The obligation will fall. If he's in that deep, it has to be real deep in poverty. If he's in deep in poverty, then the obligation will what? It will fall off. Jayed? Is it clear? طيب. طيب, let's get to the next hadith. It was an ad because we had to stop in a minute. طيب, next hadith, if you look at your books. The authority of Aisha radiallahu anha. Hold on for 1 second. There's some other masail I'm going to talk, inshallah. We'll touch on it tomorrow. We want to finish the chapter. But anyway, now, for continue from the authority of Aisha radiallahu anha, the message of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he came upon the morning in a state of major impurity from being intimate. Then he made a ghusl, then he what? Fasted. There's a couple other details we wanted to talk about. I'll get back to it and we'll explain it tomorrow. Don't worry. Tomorrow around 6 o'clock tomorrow. But I wanted to finish the chapter because there's only 2 hadith left. 2 hadith and we finish the chapter. طيب. So the message of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to come upon the morning. He'd be intimate with his wife. And he would still be in a state of what? Major impurity. And he would start his what? Fast. While he was still in a state of what? Major impurity. Jayid? It says that he would make a ghusl, then he would fast. Which is an indication of what, everyone? It's an indication, number one. Number one. This hadith, of course, alhamdulillah, is authentic. It's al-Bukhari Muslim. It's number one. Number two, it's permissible for one to be intimate with his wife after the sun goes down, which is this is an indication here. So the Prophet ﷺ was intimate with his wife after Maghrib. After Maghrib, after the sun, or when the sun had went down. He was intimate with his family and with his wife. This is a refutation against those who say, well, the message of Allah ﷺ, Jesus the son of Mary, some of the Christians will say he never had